Yeah, take two. Let's get to it.
Hey everyone, I'm Vivek Jacob. This is North Courts, where you are going to see everything that is Canadian basketball, NBA, WNBA, our stars over in Europe, Australia, wherever they're playing, we're going to cover it, even right back here at home. I can't do all of that by myself, so we've got two esteemed analysts on the show. Starting off, Meghan McPeak, how are you doing?
I am doing well, Vivek. Happy to be joined with you and Jevohn and talk hoops, not only Canadian hoops, but across the world and what our Canadians are doing.
And there it is. You got that second analyst off the top. Jevohn Shepherd joining us as well. How are you doing, Jevohn?
I'm great. Like Megan said, I'm excited about this show. I think, just us getting here and talking basketball, Canadian basketball, and just because the landscape has grown so much, it means a lot to me personally. One being I've played for the Canadian national team as well as, played 11 years professionally. So, I'm excited. I can't say enough.
Now, to get right into it, this is a big year. The Olympics obviously postponed from last year to this. There's still some things up in the air to see whether it's going to happen. What are your gut instincts, Megan? Let's start with you. Do you feel like the Olympics, we're going to see the teams play this year?
I think, Vivek, when you look at the fact that the vaccine's been rolling out not only in Canada and the US, but across the world, and they're getting more and more vaccines into arms, I think that poses a really good and really clear picture that if they can continue with, the vaccine rollout, it gives Olympic fans, Olympic athletes a really good feeling that we could see the 2020 Olympics in the summer of 2021, and Tokyo will be able to be the host and show what they can do with the host city. I think as well too, that will give, a little bit of normalcy back to not just Japan, not just the athletes, but the entire world, with getting sports back on the world stage.
Jevohn, we saw initial media reports that there were concerns from the Japanese government. Then we see the IOC come out and say that they plan to go full steam ahead. Where are you at with how things are playing out?
I think, the Olympics are going to be a green light. For one, like you said, the IOC came out, I believe it was last week, and said, hey, this is not a conversation of if the Olympics are going to happen, but how the Olympics are going to happen. And I think, the important thing there is that they're just reassuring that the health and the safety of the athletes takes precedence. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's also going to come down to the commitment of the athletes. And like Megan said, the rollout of the vaccines is going to give us, a boost of confidence as well. I think it's a big help that we have live sports currently right now. So again, you have a small sample size there. So this is definitely going to be a goal. And, the longer the Olympics go on and, as long as there's some Olympics, you guys are stuck with my pretty face. So
with all the schedules being pushed back so close to the Olympics, the NBA Finals, for example, is going to push right up to the start date of the Olympics. So who's going to actually show up? And it's just a choice of, needing to rest your body and take care of your body in that situation. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, Megan, if things do play out as we hope, the Canadian women will be there to participate. They've officially qualified, and they'll be looking to bounce back from the FIBA World Championships, where they finished a disappointing 7th. I think they'd say that themselves. Where do you see them stacking up going into the Olympics?
I think it's medal or bust, whether that's, gold, silver, or bronze. I think if they're not on the podium, then it was an unsuccessful Olympics. To Jevohn's previous point with, the NBA season and the restart and the timing of it, the men's side has bigger things to worry about than, qualifying or not qualifying. They also have to figure out roster. With the women's side, the one thing they don't have to worry about is who they're going to have, because you look at the WNBA, for example, this is something they run into every single Summer Olympics. Every 4 years, the WNBA knows that basically 90% of their entire league is going to be with a national team, whether it's USA basketball, Canada basketball, the Belgian team, France, Australia. All of their athletes are most likely playing for their national team in their home country. So they typically take anywhere from a 4 to 6 week break to allow the athletes to go and play for their home nation.
The men have some work to do, and they have some work to do to actually qualify for the Olympics. Going into that group, everyone would look at that and say Greece potentially with Giannis could be a big problem. But now with the way the schedule is playing out, that's not going to be the case. Canada's not going to have some of their best players either. How do you see their chances at that event?
I think before we even look at players, we have to understand that Nick Nurse is actually the head coach of the Canadian men's national team. So if the Raptors are in a situation where they move forward or they're a playoff team, we could be without a coach first and foremost. And I think, that's something that may have to be addressed later on down the line. But as far as, international play, whether it be from the men's side or the women's side, you have to have a deep pool of players to pick from. Obviously we're in unprecedented times right now dealing with a global pandemic, but at the same time, from year to year, there's injuries, there's contract situations, there's family situations that play a factor. So, that's where guys from the international scene in a situation like this become more enticing. A Andrew Nicholson, who's probably the best scoring big man, including the NBA caliber guys, as well as Kevin Pangos and Melvin Ejim. So, that pool has to be deep, has to be wide, and you need from both women and men 20 to 30 players that are going to be interchangeable.
Now, as Canada's talent expands, it becomes about sustaining that talent. And one of the things the Maritimes region is doing is they are going to start the Maritimes Women's Basketball Association, the MWBA, in April of 2022. I was fortunate enough to speak with the commissioner, Tasia McKenna. Here's a look into that conversation. Tasia, just how challenging is it to play competitive basketball in the Maritimes region after a college or university career right now?
The opportunity to create something that's competitive was something that was really missing. I know, it's an amateur league, so we're not paying anybody, but when you're looking at it in comparison to, out here in Halifax, we have the Halifax Hurricanes, and, you don't see that option for women to keep playing. So although it's on a different scale, I just think the opportunity was there, and there was a huge interest. So a big kudos to Brad Janes, who actually had the vision and reached out to me to help him out.
What are some of the next steps that need to fall into place before April 22 when the league plans to launch?
Yeah, there's certainly several steps, and I know that this whole process will change, right? We have 6 franchises, and we have lots of people reaching out saying, can I make a franchise? What does that look like? And really the big thing for us is trying to ensure that we make it as competitive as possible. So, how do you find that balance of saying, like, we can't have too many franchises while actually wanting to have people playing basketball. And then the other piece is making sure that, again, we're using the platform that hopefully we have to really draw attention to our social justice initiatives, and really making sure that we showcase the women that are in the league, what they're all about, what they stand for, issues that they may face, and then also giving them a platform to play while drawing in the youth that are looking up to them and saying, you know what, maybe I can play in this league when I get to that point as well.
Now, getting back to the Olympics conversation, we can get away from what might not be, who might not be there, just thinking about what the best can be for Canada, both on the women's and the men's side. The three of us went ahead and picked our best starting fives for the country. And I think we've got some interesting things to talk about here. Jevohn, starting with you, looking at the women's, you've got a couple of surprise picks in there. Why don't you tell us about it?
I got it. This is the fun stuff. So I'm going to start with Natalie Achonwa, Bridget Carlton, Kia Nurse. We're all familiar with them. Now, Kayla Alexander is going to round up my 4th pick, but my sleeper, I'm going to go with Stephanie Skirba. And a lot of you may not be familiar with the name. Stephanie actually is a 10-year pro. She went to Michigan when I was there eons ago. But I think she would be a great pick because she's Miss Utility. She can do a plethora of things on the court. play multiple positions, and guard 1 through 5. So, somebody like that has that experience is invaluable, especially when you're playing international play that already has that experience. And, on top of that, she's a mother of 2. So I think she's superwoman.
Megan, why don't you tell us about your super size and super speedy lineup?
Yeah, I went size and speed, and like Jevohn, I have Kia Nurse and Kayla Alexander. So we'll put them aside. But again, like Jevohn, I brought in some veteran experience with Mia Marie Langlois, and as well too Neo Rain Kakakunwe. And then to roll that out, I brought in some youth, because when you have youth, that means they have zero exhaust.
For me, I went with pretty much the same starting 5 that we saw at the FIBA championships. I'm saying, hey, go ahead and redeem yourselves. This is a team I thought, they had the right fit and the energy coming off the bench. The vibe felt right for me. I just felt the performance wasn't up to scratch. That's where I'm at with the women. With the men, I think we've got some more points to debate here. I'm the only one who picked Andrew Wiggins. So why don't we start there? For me, I'm looking at the situation. We've obviously both got, all 3 of us have Jamal Murray and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And what I'm seeing from Andrew Wiggins right now, with him not having to be the focal point, being depended on as much, and the attention being on Steph Curry, I feel like if you can provide a similar type of setting with Canada basketball where Jamal and Shai can be the primary initiators, he can focus on defense first. That's where you can get the best out of him, I feel. And so that's why I've got him in the starting lineup alongside Melvin Ejim and then Kelly Olynyk to provide some shooting.
All right. So I'll top that. I think I got a better 5 than you right now.
All right.
So I'll go at my point guard. I'm going to go Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. At my 2, I'm going to go Jamal Murray. And I think with what he's done in the bubble, coming off the bubble, the whole world has been put on notice that, what he's capable of and the type of player he is, and that he can carry a team. He's also been one to say he's committed to the national team. He wants to play in the Olympics. He wants to get this team to the Olympics. So that level of commitment right there says enough about, the impact he's going to have with this team.
Anytime you play for your country, it's a different type of honor than just playing in a team or in the league. You're going against the best athletes in the world on the biggest stage. So it'll be a lot of fun. Those I get to play with guys I never get to play with or practice with.
At the 3, I'm going to go with RJ Barrett. He's young. He's also been a winner on this stage at the under-19s. He's, led his team as a catalyst to a gold medal. So there's always value in having somebody that can win, despite how young he may be, and him continuing to grow. At the 4, I'm going to go Melvin Ejim. I think we both had him there, and I think he's the wild card. Many people may have forgot about him, but he has the international experience. And lastly, Tristan Thompson. Again, another winner, a guy that's won, and a guy that's a bruiser, a guy that has some experience, and a guy that's a leader. Like, he can really, I remember playing with him, and Tristan got guys in place.
Few championship experiences under his belt too. Doesn't help. Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt at all. Doesn't hurt at all.
So 3 of mine are basically the exact same as Shep's, with obviously Murray, Barrett, and Gilgeous-Alexander. And then I added in some size, length, but shot blocking ability, because defense is still an anchor and needs to be an anchor, I think, for the men's team as well as the women's team, because you're going to have to defend the not only, USA basketball, but the Europeans, the South Americans. You have to focus on defense as well too. So I think you add in a Kem Birch with the Orlando Magic, and then Chris Boucher. Their shot blocking ability and their size and their ability to defend bigs, I think, is really, really important.
As the host, I get the last word, so I've got the best 5. That's going to wrap it up for this first episode of North Courts. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to catching you next time.